Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another video in our series of international finance, foreign exchange. Today, we are going to understand what do we mean by American terms and European terms in terms of exchange. Whenever some foreign exchange is quoted, these terms are often used. Some quotes are said to be American terms and some are said to be written in the European terms. What is exactly this American terms and European terms? Let us try and understand. To begin with, let me tell you these American terms or European terms, both the terms are nothing but ways of writing your foreign exchange codes. Any foreign exchange code that is written for whichever currencies can be classified either as American terms or European terms. Now, what exactly this is? In our previous video, we have already studied about the direct quotes and indirect quotes. Let us revise that because this is again related with the American terms and European terms. When we say direct quote, a direct quote is nothing but in simple terms it is the domestic currency per unit of foreign currency. Whenever we say it is domestic currency per unit of foreign currency, that is nothing but direct quote. Like for an example, 75 rupees per US dollar in India would be the direct quote in India, because domestic currency is written first, that is the quoted currency, and the foreign currency is the base currency, which is written later on. In a similar way, when it comes to indirect currencies, indirect quotes, it is exactly opposite. Foreign currency per unit of domestic currency. It is foreign currency per unit of domestic currency. So what does this mean? For India, it would be $0.75 per unit of Indian rupee, per unit of INR. So in that case, when domestic currency is treated as base currency and foreign currency is called as quoted currency, that is termed as indirect quote. That is termed as indirect quote. So when we have understood what is direct quote and indirect quote, these two things are nothing but they are called as American terms and European terms. Now, what exactly do we mean by that? Let us focus on that. The first thing first, American terms. What is American terms? American terms is nothing whenever a quote is written for US dollars per unit of other currency. When we say some US dollars, an X amount of US dollar per unit of other currency. Now this other currency can be anything but only the quoted currency. The quoted currency should be US dollar. When this quoted currency is US dollar and other currency can be any currency, whenever such a quote is written, this quote is called as your quote in American terms. Such a quote is called as quote in American terms. Let us take an example. Say 1.15 US dollars per unit of euro. 1.15 US dollars per unit of euro. Your quoted currency is US dollars and base currency is euro. So this is written in American terms. Take another example. $0.075 per unit of INR. $0.075 per unit of INR. This is again a American term. This is again an American term method of writing the currency. Remember one thing. American term, to make it very simple for you, let me give you this technique. American terms is nothing but direct quote in USA. So it is nothing but direct quote in USA. So what does it mean? That when your domestic currency is USD, when it is domestic for USA, any quote that is written for the citizens or from the citizens of USA's perspective, that is when you are domestic for USA, the direct quote for such a quote would be called as American terms. Yes, so direct quote for American people would be called as American terms. Now opposite to that is European term. Let me clear one thing which is very important. Please mind it well. European terms has got nothing to do with Europe. Yes, European terms has got nothing to do anything with Europe. So it has got no relation with Europe. Then why is it called as European terms? Let us understand. See, when these quotes were decided, when the exchange rates were decided and the terms were defined, at that time most of the global trade was occurring between US and Europe, between the Americans and the Europeans. So most of the terms are related to US and Europe only. So when the quote was written from the American people's perspective, it was called as American terms. And when it was opposite to, when it was a quote written not for the Americans, then it was obviously for the European people, and that is why it is termed as the European terms. However, like I said, European terms has got nothing to do with European people or euro currency as such. Okay, so what exactly this European term is, let us understand. European term is nothing but any currency per unit of USD. Yes, it could be any currency, and when we say any currency, it could be euro, it could be INR, it could be Japanese yen, it could be Swiss franc, it could be pound, it could be any, maybe Australian dollar, Singapore dollar, whatever it is, but it is per unit of US dollar. So whenever any quote is given per unit of US dollar, it is termed as European term. It is termed as European term. For an instance, for an example, say 0.85 euro per unit of USD is an European term. 75 rupees per unit of dollar USD is again European term. Now here no euro is involved, still this is an European term. Or maybe 0.65 GBP per unit of US dollar, 0.65 pounds per unit of dollar, still it would be called as a European term. Yes, so like I have already clarified that it has got no relation with the Europe or with the euro currency, still that is called as European term only because it is an indirect quote for Americans. So to make it very simple, direct quote for Americans is called as American terms, and indirect quote for Americans only, it is called as European terms. I hope you all have understood this. Please subscribe to this channel for more such informative videos. Stay tuned. Thank you.